Godzilla is a 1954 monster film that tells a story about a giant kaiju called Godzilla who wreaks havoc upon Japan and starts tearing every building apart, killing thousands and thousands of people in the process, while Japan is doing everything they can to try and stop this thing from destroying any more buildings and killing more civilians. I remember being a big fan of the MonsterVerse Godzilla films, and I still am. I enjoy those films from time to time. Godzilla, the 2014 remake, I still really enjoy. Godzilla vs. Kong and King of the Monsters, I found, were pretty fun movies. That's my era of Godzilla, all that right there. And some of the Toho movies are fun. Some of them are cheesy. Some are pretty bad, but for the most part, the Toho sequels are fun popcorn movies, and that's how I thought of Godzilla. Just a fun popcorn monster movie. But I never watched the original. I never watched it not until like HBO Max started a few years ago, and I was trying to catch up with a bunch of old classic films like Casablanca or Citizen Kane. And Godzilla was on my list, and it was on the service. I don't know if it's still there. I think it is, but doesn't matter. I have the Blu-ray from the Criterion Collection. I watched the film there for the first time, and I was taken aback by it. The film, to this day, still holds up really well, and if you are someone who just heard of Godzilla even today, you never seen the movies, and you decide to watch this, I still can't see this movie doing something for you. Godzilla 1954 is a masterpiece in filmmaking, especially for its time. Yes, there are some dated elements, some special effects, and some audio editing is a bit hit and miss here and there. But for the most part, the film mainly tells a story about what happens when nuclear tests and bombs kept being used and progressed so much to the point where they start killing people and innocents, and it culminates in this monster rising from the sea. And we have no idea what to do with this power, how to contain it. It is a warning of what would happen if nuclear tests and bombs kept getting used. And it means that more innocent people will just keep dying. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see any loved ones go. And I found those themes to be beautifully executed in this film. Which is no surprise considering that this film literally came out just 9 years after the Second World War ended. So Japan, after what happened to Hiroshima and Nagasaki at the end of the war, it is no doubt and no question that they would not be able to emulate such stuff again. Like, of course they would. They should, because this is an event and story that pretty much at the time needed to be told. Because what just ended up happening at the war was just more innocent people dying. And that's how they ended that war. Instead of just leaving it at Hitler dying and the enemy just eating each other up, Japan just wanted to keep going. That led to America, Oppenheimer, and everyone that were involved in the atomic bomb. It ended up culminating in just more people dying. And this film basically encapsulates all of that. Definitely not a World War II epic, definitely not. It's mostly a monster movie. It just takes place after the war and is put to relate to themes that happened during that time. But it is done very well in how they shoot Godzilla and explore this chaos, and the politics behind it was very compelling. You don't see much of Godzilla attacks. You see glimpses here and there in the beginning of the film, but it's not until near the end of the film when the movie gets to the end of its second act, where we see all of the Godzilla destruction and all the chaos he brings. But it's not portrayed in a fun light. It is portrayed in a horrific fashion, where we see people begging for their lives and running away. You see a mother holding her children, letting them know that they will see their father in heaven once again, only for later on for one of those children to survive and see her sister and mother dead. It is tragic stuff to look at. We see people go through radiation poisoning or having to deal with the death of loved ones. It is a horrific and depressing film, and that's what I love about it. How I was able to take a monster film that could have been just a monster just tearing through the streets and the government kills it. They made something meaningful out of that, and they did it so well. Now there's a thing that the film does with one of its characters, Dr. Serizawa, who does have a device that can kill Godzilla, and they can use that whenever they want it. But this character doesn't want to. Understandably, he doesn't want the thing in the wrong hands of people, but it has to be used because too many people are dying, and he's just not wanting that to happen. He's not willing to take that risk until he sees what Godzilla has eventually done, and he has to come to that ultimate decision to try and actually use this thing. Now, what I love about this plot and how it connects to the main plot of Godzilla tearing through Japan was that it also explores the themes of keeping secrets that can save people, but explores how the human race can be untrustworthy of such devices, because it's proven in history that we suck. Whatever opportunities there are, we take for granted and abuse that power because we think that we can control something. Like how we thought we could control nuclear bombs and we could use it to our advantage. Unfortunately, and willingly knowing, we can hurt more people rather than save. And we're only looking after the skin of our own teeth. And that's what he is doing here. He is kind of looking after himself. But you could definitely tell that he really doesn't want this in the wrong hands. But he needs to eventually come to the ultimate decision to use this thing. And I love how this movie was able to explore that aspect of humanity and encapsulate it in one character as going through that process. And how his character concludes, I found to be very much satisfying and brings the entire film full circle character-wise. He's not like the main character, but he is a very pivotal one into trying to defeat Godzilla. Overall, from a story point of view, this film does an excellent job. How it portrays the monster Godzilla himself, he is terrifying. There's a lot of tension built up to his grand appearance on land, and when he starts destroying cities, it is great to watch. But not in the way you may think, as I said, as the action here is portrayed more so in a horrific sense. It's not something to be applauded about. I really do think this film is fantastic. The characters are engaging to watch. The themes behind the film and the messages it presents I found to be very engaging and prevalent at the time and still prevalent today. These are themes and talking points that are going to be important for generations, years, and decades and centuries to come. And that makes this film as iconic as it is. This is a film that's going to stand the test of time. Not just in a technical aspect and filmmaking aspect, but the story, themes, and characters keeps you engaged, keeps you on your seat. You are invested in the story, and you want to see Japan come back and save its own country and learn the lessons of war and what it means to actually use nuclear bombs and how that can affect innocent people. And I loved all that about this film. I highly recommend this movie. It is dated at times. There's definitely some technical issues, as I said. But that's mostly because the film was made during a time where Japan was coming from the war. They are still trying to recover, and they don't all have the best resources. But what they were able to do with this film, despite a lot of limitations at the time, I think is incredible and something to be applauded about. Great characters, great story, great themes that are executed beautifully without feeling preachy or overblown to the point where it feels ridiculous, even if the message is good. It is perfectly laid out, and you see it visualized all in Godzilla's rampage, which is all executed beautifully. I'm going to give Godzilla 1954 an A+. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.